The voice of sharing, Durian ASEAN.
Hey, this is Arlene, and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Today, me, Arlene, and also
Gowri. Well, we're moving on to our Blast from the Grassroots session.
for this morning. Yes, for this morning, our Blast from the Grassroots session. So, today we have our guest, Danny. Are you there? Directly from Penang, isn't it?
Yes, I'm here directly from Penang. Good morning.
Good morning. So, tell us more about yourself. You're a singer and songwriter, isn't it?
Well, I'm an artist. So basically, what I do is I'm a poet and songwriter. I don't particularly sing that much. I think some of your viewers may know me better as Satria. That's my stage name. So personally, as an artist, I do poetry, spoken word, fusion music. I've got an album out, that sort of thing. And I also work in Penang to manage events and work with artists and other venues and creative professionals to run events and build up the creative industry in Penang.
Interesting. In relation with our topic today, which is the Penang as a hub for the indie grounds, you coming from an indie background, do you see Penang has transformed itself as a place that really can accommodate artists like you, indie artists like you?
Well, if you're asking if it has transformed, meaning that the transformation is complete, I would say no, because there's still a lot of things that need to be done, I think, by all parties, whether, the state, whoever's running the state government, or private ownership, or, the indie artists themselves and the audience. There's still a lot to be done. But I think the first tentative steps are there, because Penang has an environment that I think encourages very experimental music, very creative approaches to art. And the audience is also, I think, a bit more receptive, or rather we have an audience that is receptive to that. And we have artists who are interested to explore that and are not as, I guess, preoccupied with filling in an established genre or established way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking those first steps. There's a lot to be done, some more by a lot of people, but I think it can. We can manage to pull it off if we do things right.
Mm-hmm. And there's this place called China House in
Yes.
Penang. Can you explain further and how it contributes towards the indie ground?
Okay, so I can't speak on China House's behalf, but so I can tell you what we're doing with China House and how they've helped work with us. So China House has been, I think, extremely supportive of indie artists, partly because of the management's vision for what they want to do, and also because they have a great team of people working in their arts galleries and and also on their stage. Ken Lim is the stage manager on the weekends that we perform, and he has done a great job of getting indie artists on stage and getting the audience for it. What we do with China House is Say It Like You Mean It, which is the network or collective that I'm part of, and we are a network of multidisciplinary artists. So you will have musicians, dancers, actors, directors, visual media artists, and all kinds of artists from different disciplines. And we work with China House in partnership with China House to have a monthly show. It's called Say It Like You Mean It. And what we do is we feature original artists from different disciplines. And also we try to encourage new artists, younger musicians or younger performers to come on stage with open mics and stuff like that.
I see.
And also to help groom them. That's what we've been doing with China House.
How does China House differ from other cafes or eateries?
Well, for us, our experience with them is that they have been willing to take a calculated risk, because 2 years ago, what happened was during the Georgetown Literary Fest, we had a discussion with China House. Some of us had performed at China House for the event, and we were talking about creating a platform for artists, original artists in Penang to perform, and it has to be something regular, it can't be something annual, so that they have a chance to build an audience, to grow in experience, to gain new skills from other artists, and to work together basically to help support each other. So China House was very brave and very, I think, had some foresight, and they said, why don't you do it at our place? We'll work with you, we'll partner with you, you organize it, and we'll give the artists the space that they need. And so it has been a very successful partnership. We've been there for 2 years. We've had 16 shows, most of them full house. We're coming back next year, if all goes well. So in that sense, China House has had the vision and the ability to take a calculated risk, and that has helped them establish themselves. I think the other venues that I've spoken to or that I've been to are a bit more focused on the short term. They want they want to get an artist in who will give them a full house on a Wednesday night or on a weekday night. And inevitably, when you don't make 3 times what you usually do on a Wednesday night, they kick the artist out, and then it becomes this sort of cycle of, I guess, exploitation, because the artists don't get paid. So it becomes a cycle of exploitation, and of course, you don't build up a reputation for being a place of where some of the greatest artists come and perform, which is basically what you need. You need a reputation for being an awesome place to come and get great music. And you can't do that by cycling through artists, that way. So that's what China House, I think, at its heart has really done differently, is that they have invested in long-term branding, in long-term promotion, and that has paid off for them quite handsomely.
That's very interesting, because me coming from Kuala Lumpur, I don't necessarily have that sort of awareness on the indie bands and indie artists there and how they struggle in all this area. And it's I'm glad that there are places like China House to provide that sort of avenue for indie artists like you. But talking about indie artists, like from your perspective, how much of the indie community has evolved, and what kind of focus they are in right now?
Well, so if you want to look at it from, I think, the big picture perspective, I think in terms of opportunities to perform, there is definitely, both in KL and in Penang, and I think in other places like JB as well, there is a little, and Ipoh is coming up as well. There's a lot more events and stuff going on in Ipoh. So there's a lot more opportunities to perform. But from a creative perspective and from a business perspective, I'll explain the creative perspective first. I think there's a bit, we're stalling a little bit, because I'm not seeing as much new ideas and new ways of approaching art and the way you reach out to audiences, or certainly the message has become a lot sort of braver. I think a lot of indie artists are more, out there about the messages they want to portray, but at the same time, the growth of, creative growth itself, I feel, is kind of stalling, and that may be sort of just a plateau, a sort of temporary plateau, I hope, and what they need is basically some sort of spark that will start them moving in a different direction again. When I say business-wise, what I mean is that indie artists do still need to reach out to an audience. And if you want to keep doing what you do, you still do need to think about who's the paying audience, who buys my stuff, who's going to support me making more music, and who wants to listen to this music. And I feel that's stalling as well, in the sense that I think a lot of indie artists are hitting plateaus, basically, and they don't know how to gain that audience without the support of labels and stuff like that. And I think there needs to be more creative ideas and more networking between artists on how that can happen. So I think in general there's some positive movement, but I think there is a danger of stalling.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to figure a way around that.
Is there a kind of support towards musicians like you from the government or civil society?
Well, that is a difficult question because it depends really on what you mean by support.
Mm-hmm.
If you mean, because I know, for example, the federal government under the One Malaysia for You program, I think it is what's called I Am For You, they have had some concerts where they've had artists come in and perform, and so that's certainly a good thing. Although one might argue it's a very one-sided approach in the sense that they're very particular about who performs for them, but still, that's still something. Civil society has always been part of the independent artist group because, usually they will have events and stuff and they will call indie artists to come. So if you mean support in terms of moral support, it is there. But at the end of the day, I'm not aware of any situation where indie artists were invited and were paid proper, payments for what they do, or sometimes they're just not paid at all. I'm aware that the federal government has all sorts of arts grants, but I'm not. I've looked at some of the grants, and I'm not aware of any that are, specifically for musicians, and I'm not aware of any recipients being indie musicians. As far as I know, there has not been any recipients of grants who are indie musicians, usually theater groups or video and stuff like that. Recently, the Penang World Music Festival did a thing where the opening and closing acts for some of the days were local musicians. There was some criticism, I think, about the choice of musicians that they had, but at the same time, I felt that was, a step in the right direction, because some of the musicians were really good. Some of them may not have been as good as expected, but it's that's what happens when you don't have a healthy live environment for musicians to gain experience. The Rainforest World Music Festival has been a lot more supportive. I think there were at least 2 Malaysian musicians playing world music each day that they did the last one, I think, in June. So that's great support coming from there. But in general, financially, artistically, even in terms of moral support, most indie artists are adrift on their own. They have to figure things out on their own.
Mm-hmm. What about the state government of Penang?
The state government of Penang.
Do they have any focus on improving the creative spheres of Penang?
Well, okay, so the state government is working in partnership with a couple of organizations. Certainly, the Penang Global Tourism Organization is a big player, and they're a government body or a government vehicle. And also, the Georgetown Festival by Joe Sidek Productions is a private player. And between them, they have done a lot of stuff. But again, mostly focused on things like theater and dance and other sort of stage stuff. A lot more focus on traditional and heritage stuff, not so much on contemporary. As far as I'm aware, there are no specific programs or plans for contemporary musicians or artists. That may change because they may decide to do it later. We're trying to talk to them about it. But in general, I feel it's not just in Penang. I feel everywhere that I have spoken to artists, they're saying like, in general, the sentiment is that this is not something we are going to pay attention to, which is weird because Sarawak had the Borneo World Music Expo.
Oh yeah, they do, and it's a global phenomenon. Like every year, all over the world will come to Sarawak for that.
Exactly. And a lot of Malaysians may not know this because we're very focused on the American music industry. But world music is $1 billion industry worldwide. It's one of the biggest and most profitable industries in music all over the world, right? And they have huge conferences and expos overseas. The one in Malaysia is very new, and they're still working on developing partnerships for that. But the ones overseas are huge, right? So they saw the opportunity to that this industry had a long time ago, and it's become very profitable for them. And we're still sort of not clueless about the entire thing.
But I mean, for local talents like you, how can you survive in this cutthroat industry and somewhat in an industry that do not have a proper support system?
Well, to be honest, it's not a proper industry.
It's not yet.
Up in the beginning. But, a lot of indie musicians are, I think, very effective and brave entrepreneurs. Because usually what they do is that, like you said, you're basically adrift. And you have to find your own audience. You do not have any channels or support or anything. And they build everything from scratch. Okay? But in general, most artists that I know have no choice but to have two or more jobs. So they'll have a day job, and then with the money that they've saved, because you can't get a loan, you can't get a business loan to start to start a creative entrepreneurship, especially in music. Very difficult. So they will work, they will save money, and then they will build up their own business. And some of them are actually they reach a decent amount of success despite the obstacles. But I think what happens is that it is definitely not something that you can do for very long without, the stress and the amount of work really taking a toll on you. So in general, what you see with most, even really good bands and really popular bands, is that there comes a point when they say like, okay, we can't do this anymore. And it's understandable. It's a lot of work to have a day job, work 10 hours a day, come back, practice for another 4 hours, and do that every single day of your life.
That's true. I heard before, like really good bands, local bands, they produce 1 or 2 songs or maybe an album, and then later on you don't hear anything from them, and you're like questioning yourself, like they are so good, but where are they now? Yeah. Well, there
are a lot of factors as well, because one thing that we've talked about before within the artist community is that, right now as an artist, you're expected to be 10 different things at the same time. You're a musician, you're also your own promoter, you're also your own manager, you're also your own accountant, you're also your own PR guy,
You promote your own songs.
So inevitably, you can't do 5 jobs and do them all well. So what we've been saying is that layer of management, that layer of know-how, that layer of skills, in order to find talented musicians and then promote them and find the audience for them and manage them, that layer is missing. So basically, the artists can't concentrate. They already have a day job. They already need to be artists. Plus, they need to do all these other things. So it's overwhelming. But if you had, say, managers and promoters who could find these artists and promote them, then that situation would not arise. Then the artists can focus on making art, and the managers and promoters can focus on promoting and managing them, and everybody goes home happy.
So, if you have one advice or something that you would want to tell the state of Penang, or the Penang government on how to improve the creative industry in in Penang, what would you say, and how to do it, how to go about it?
I think they need to sit down and talk to us. No, I mean, because previously there was a little bit more cohesion in the sense that there were regular meetings with stakeholders, all the stakeholders, or rather anybody who is an industry player, and it was a bit more coordinated. And I would like to see some sort of coordination in that sense, where all the different players in the creative economy or the creative industry in Penang come down, sit together, speak, and coordinate and work out what it is that we need. Because otherwise, everything else is a little bit, without that direction and that planning and coordination, everything else is sort of like, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little, too little, too late, that sort of thing, So I would say the most important thing is sit down, talk to us, and we can work together. We can build a partnership that would be mutually beneficial.
Mm-hmm. So what do you foresee in the future in terms of young talents and indie bands in Penang? What do you hope to see?
Well, I hope, honestly, because like we said, the status quo is that everybody is adrift. So if you're a young artist, you don't know where to go, what to do, and how to build up your experience and skills. So that's why we created Say It Like You Mean It, because we want to help young artists or young at heart artists basically build their experience, build their talent, help promote them, get them gigs, and then work in partnership with other bigger events so that they have sort of a career path that they can look forward to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope more of them will, we've got a decent-sized, network. We hope more of them will join, especially the younger ones, and work together with us to, to build the scene.
And have more places like China House in Penang, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of venues. We've got a lot of venues. But my personal feeling is that as long as the mindset doesn't change, both with the artists and the venues and the audience and the other stakeholders, the idea that musicians are also, artists are also professionals, needs to sink into all these stakeholders, the artists themselves, the venues and stuff like that, because it is a job. It's a full-time job in most cases, and it needs to be treated as such by the artists and by the people they work with. But I think by the artists most importantly. A lot of artists don't see themselves as professional artists. In Malaysia, a lot of them see themselves as hobbies, and that needs to change, because if you don't take yourself seriously, nobody will take you seriously. So you need to start taking yourself seriously. So that would be my hope. I think I hope more of them are serious about what they do and work together with us towards a better industry.
Yeah, I hope you all the best. Thank you, Danny, for sharing with us on the local indie bands there, and as well as I hope that one day Penang will definitely be one of the top hub for indie community. Thank you very much.
Do you want to know how any of your listeners can get in touch with us if they're interested?
Oh yeah, sure. Let us know. I'll let our audience know how to get in touch with you.
Okay, so if you want to talk to Say It Like You Mean It, you can either get us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/SayItMeanItPenang. So that's SayItMeanItPenang. Or email us at silymi.gmail.com. That's sillyme@gmail.com.
And how can they listen to your music? So
if you want to listen to my music, you can find me at facebook.com/Rebel Rhyming. That's Rebel Rhyming. Or you can stream my music for free at rebelrhyming.bandcamp.com.
Are you performing anytime soon?
Well, at the moment I'm a little busy with Say Like You Mean It, but I probably will be performing at China House in August for Georgetown Festival and stuff like that. So if you stay in touch with me on Facebook or on Twitter at Rebel Rhyming, I will update you about all my performances.
Thank you very much, Danny.
Okay, thank you very much. Very glad I had the opportunity to speak to you today.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye.